Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Boss Talks. I'm Christine Drummond and I'm here with my co-host Joel Lord, and it has been a little while in between our episodes and we do apologize for that, but life got a little bit busy and we're going to make up for it. We'll try and get a few podcasts in to catch up, but we are on lesson 9 today of the Law of Success book that we've been doing a podcast on for the last 8 or 9 episodes. So what we would love is if you're loving this information, if you are loving the content that we're giving you, not just from these last few podcasts out of this book, but from all our podcasts. I think Joel just said before, we've done nearly 80 episodes or over 80 episodes, which is incredible. If you love our episodes and the content and the passion that we show up with every single episode, then all we ask is that you share it out there. Let's help get this information out there. Let's cause some ripples out there in the world right now when so many people are suffering and in pain and living below the line. We want to be that little ray of sunshine, that little ray of hope in people's lives, and let them know that they are worthy of success, that they are worthy of love, and they are worthy of achieving their dreams, whatever that looks like for them. So go and share it, guys. So pleasing personality, Joel. I love this topic. This is my jam. I am really attracted to people with pleasing personalities. And if I don't get someone who is giving me service or something like that, I go over the top to really make my personality come out and shine and just make someone have a really good day or a really good experience in my presence. So what is an attractive personality? Well, let's start with what is your personality to start with. And in the book, he says that your personality is the sum total of your characteristics and appearances which distinguish you from all others. It's the clothes you wear, it's the lines on your face, it's the tone of your voice, it's the thoughts that you think, it's the character you have developed by those thoughts. They all constitute parts of your personality. Now, whether your personality is attractive or not, that's another story, which we're going to get into. But the most important part of your personality, which is not visible, is your character. So have a think about that. If you're listening to this right now, have a think about your character. And one of my mentors once said to me, Christine, your character, your brand, your personality, it's not so much what people are saying in front of you, it's what they're saying when you're not in the room. Like that is really, really important. So have a think about that. What are people saying when you're not actually in the room? What are they saying about you? And what would you love people to say about you? And are you living up to what you would actually love people to say? You know, I definitely want people to think of me as inspiring and high energy and fun and, a go-getter. Someone that takes action. So that's how I want people to think of me. Then I need to be, making sure that that's how I'm living my life. So Joel, I want to bring you in here. We love this chapter, but I'd love to get your thoughts on what you got out of this lesson about a pleasing personality.
Well, Christine, one of the things that I've heard over time, and if you I want the listeners to really think about the people that they admire. Like, who do you admire? Like, I admire and people that are doing well at something that you maybe wished you were doing even better at. Maybe you are doing really well at it. But one of the things that I heard from a guy called Steve Larson, now he was the chief funnel builder for Russell Brunson in ClickFunnels. He's helped people make millions of dollars. And when he went out on his own, one of the major things that he does is he teaches people how to do it as well. And he said that if one of the keys is if you've got a likable character, people will forgive you for messing up. They're not going to be ready to hunt you down. Like if you're out there and you're being arrogant and you're, I know that the listeners know the kind of people I'm talking about. The really arrogant person, like they could be serving you coffee. the rude person, versus the person that's really kind, that goes over the top, that comes back and checks in on you, making sure that everything's great. Now think about one of them spilled a drink on you. Which one are you going to want to go off at, and which one are you going to want to just go, look, it's all right, and not get them into trouble? You know what I mean? So the likable character, be a likable character, because, and that takes courage, but if you like that, people will let you off the hook. I know that in my early days in the supermarkets, all we had was customer service, because we didn't have the infrastructure. It was a really rundown place. The fridges didn't work, just so many things that we couldn't afford to fix, and in our team meetings, I just say, listen, the number one thing we can do, and the only thing we can control, is just how we treat the customers. So we treated them like celebrities. We would help them. Oh goodness, the things we would do, because we had to get them to come back somehow, and they weren't coming back because our store was awesome. We just hired awesome people and were awesome to people. And they and goodness, we really needed their forgiveness a lot, because we were terrible compared to the big stores that had heaps of money that could, we were definitely a work in progress for a decade, really. And even still. So that's it. That's it in a nutshell. If you want to be forgiven when you're taking, especially at the start, when you're maybe not a master at your craft, be likable. And it's not really that hard. I guess another little story is when I was a young kid, and it only came up recently because now I've got kids, and I would have been 7 years old, maybe not even that old, probably younger. And I was at the checkout and at a supermarket, and this is probably before they had conveyor belts, Drummo. That's how long it was ago. And I remember the lady spoke to me, and I didn't speak back, and she actually pulled me up and said, listen, manners doesn't cost anything. It doesn't cost anything to give a smile and have manners and be likable. And that stuck with me ever since then. I thought, you know what, that is true. And that's what I try to be anymore. Acknowledge people, be kind, be nice, because you got to be genuine and you got to come from the heart, and that's it. I got stuff to bring up later about that, Drummo. There's people out there that, speak really fast, and this is something that came up from a good friend of ours. Her name's Valerie. She spoke to me on the phone a couple of months ago, and she spoke about, there's three voices. There's the nose voice, the throat voice, and the heart voice. And people that are speaking at you and really quick and owning it for themselves tend to speak from the nose. The throat has more truth to it. But if you want what you're saying to land with people and really move them and influence them and speak to them human to human, you've got to come from the heart. And I know that's something that you're a master at. That's why you got so much influence on stage. So what do you think about that? What Valerie said, what do you think?
Yeah, I love that. And I've never really thought of it like that, but I do know that the longest journey people will ever make is the journey between their head and the heart. We get so caught up in being in our head and trying to impress people. This is the ego that comes out, trying to impress people with our knowledge, or we want to say what we want to say next without just being in the present moment and listening, where we don't want to lose that thought. So we hone in on it and we miss what that other person is saying, because we put our ego ahead of theirs. We put our needs ahead of theirs. We've got something more important to say than that other person. So I totally agree with what she's trying to say there. So this is what we need to come back with is, having that curious mind, being present and, being interested in people. That people love to talk about themselves. That's definitely what I have found. And I want to share a story with our listeners that really shook me up last weekend. we went to this local hotel that has a beautiful outdoor play area and a massive big oval, and it's nice to just sit there on a Sunday in the sun and watch the kids play and, you know, mingle and chat with people. And I remember seeing this lady down playing with her kids and her family, and I thought, oh, she looks really nice, and if I get the opportunity, I might have a chat with her, because, you know, she was wearing some amazing jeans. That's actually what caught me, was I need some new jeans and I want to know what brand she had. But then I saw that her son had this little jacket on, and it had on the back fundraiser for Job. And I got curious. I was like, oh, I wonder why this little boy who looked about 4, I wonder why he needed fundraising. So then I got curious. So I met, when I was coming out of the bathroom, she was coming in, and I just got curious. I said, hey, is that your son that's wearing that little jacket with the fundraising thing on the back? And she said, oh my gosh, yes, thank you so much for noticing. It's an old jacket, but yeah, we did have to raise money. And I said, oh, I'd love to hear his story if you're willing to share it. She said, oh, absolutely. And super positive, bright personality this woman had. And then she went on to share with me, and I'm getting goosebumps already, and this is where it really hit my heart. She told me about this condition, and I can't even remember the name of it, but you can look it up. But it's childhood dementia, and it's terminal. And her son is 4, and he's a twin, and his life expectancy is 8. So he's halfway through his life if he makes it to 8. And in that moment, nothing else mattered in the world to me. I just was so curious and interested in this woman and how she is managing to show up in that light and positivity every single day. That pleasing personality was oozing through. And I just said to her, that must be so challenging. Like, how do you deal with something like that? And she said, you know what? He has taught us more about life in 4 years than we've learnt in our entire life. And we live in the moment. We live in the present moment, and we don't sweat the small stuff. And I was like, wow, that is incredible. And then I went on to share my dad's story, and you listeners know my dad has dementia. And so I could really resonate with her on that level of, shit, I know what's coming, you know. And she said the next 12 months for her and her family are going to be the most difficult, you know, going through, you know, the loss of memory and all those kind of things. But I just couldn't fathom that this 4-year-old boy was going to be coming up against all of that. So for me, like, that's how I live life. I get curious, I get interested in people. I want to hear their stories. I want to find out what makes people tick. I want to find out what lights them up, what their passions are. And if you're a friend of mine on social media, I'll often send you a random message just to check in and say, hey, what are you excited about right now? You know, just so we can talk about something else rather than the monotony and the day-to-day ins and outs of life, because doesn't that get boring? And that's where we get sort of trapped in that downward spiral. So I see, like, one of my roles out there in life is to have that pleasing personality where I'm sprinkling kindness like it's confetti. And therefore I seem to attract that. Like, I don't seem to get the drama and the negativity, because I'm playing at a higher level. I'm setting some standards for my own personality. I'm setting standards for my own time and energy and the way that I manage that. And then it becomes a bit of a vortex. And the things that come into my vortex are the high energy, the pleasing personalities and things like that. So I don't know the scientific terminology for all that and how that actually works. But Joel, I want to bring you back in here before I go into, because I want to chat to, he has, how do you develop a pleasing personality? But before we go into that, yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on, you know, how important it is to really, you know, get curious and ask questions and find out about people.
Yeah, well, like the scientific term, I think, is the law of attraction. You know, I'm lucky to be part of, you know, I mention Ed Milet and Andy Frisilla a lot on this podcast. You know, like, a lot of what we do is inspired by what they say and how they conduct themselves. And I've been lucky enough to be on in a mastermind with the two of them that they run, and both calls have been about the law of attraction. So, and faith and all these kind of things. So, like, that's it in a nutshell. There'd be people out there, and it's funny, I've got notes here from, and we read this chapter months ago, And I'm like, it literally says I've watched Kristine many times be very interested in other people. You know, that's one of the things, like, I'm not that walk past someone that often and say something, unless like it does happen, but not as much as you. And that was one of the things, because you're very good at starting conversations, and I tend to hold back a little bit, but that's something I can work on. But yeah, I've written it here, but like, that's the law of attraction. There'd be people out there, like, if you have negative people around you, take that gold nugget that Kristine just said there, like, because it starts with you. Change your vibration, change the energy you're putting out. And what will happen is those negative Nellies, they won't be able to stand you, and they'll just they'll leave. They just won't be around you, because like attracts like, you know. And if someone's negative and you're a very positive person, they're either going to change or leave. So either way, it's a win, right? So, you know, honestly, be prepared to study people and find what you admire in them. You know, if you want to have a pleasing personality and you want to really have people, you want to be able to influence people and really, you know, have a better life yourself and have better energies, like, get really interested. It's that easy. Like, just have the confidence to take that little pinch of courage and just say, ask a question. Hey, how's life been for the last 12 months? No one asks that question. You know what I mean? Have the courage to tell someone that they look great. You know, you know, pay them a compliment. That's really simple. You know, actually ask that, like what Kristine did. You know, be interested, not interesting. You don't need to be interesting, but be interested in other people. And because if you get to know people and you can get them to like you, honestly, you're not doing it for this reason, but they will help you. If you're likable, people actually want to help you. They're out there waiting. They're just not going to help someone who's not likable. Like, think about it. Like, I'm really just spelling this out really basically, but if you are a jerk, who's going to want to help you? If you're positive and you actually interested in caring enough about the other person, you know, because most people are walking around tuned into WeFM. What's in it for me? So if you can get curious about what is this person looking to get, and you can ask that question and you can get them to open up about it, you can help them. And if you solve enough problems for other people, well, then your problems start to go away. That's financially, spiritually, energetically, all that kind of stuff. It's not always about money, although the money will come if you solve enough problems. And as entrepreneurs, which a lot of you are, that's what we're here for, right? So if we can solve enough problems and big enough problems and at enough scale, well, then, you know what I mean? I don't think money will be an issue for you. And then that can, you know, more money is going to change your family's life, right? And then it all starts. If you don't have a pleasing personality, you're screwed, right? You know, you might become that stereotypical evil businessman that most likely doesn't exist. And they never have a great life anyway, because you want to have a great life and money. And, you know, it's just good for your health to be pleasing. So focus on the long game. For goodness sake, focus on the long game. This is where people go wrong all the time, Kristine. Like even in their Facebook ads, like, I'm going to get marketing now, but like in their Facebook ads, you're just paying ads hoping that they're going to buy something off you. So no one's really willing to like give to get. So like they just want to sell straight off the bat. Like, you know, they're thinking, how can I get as much as I can from my client or customer right now? Well, isn't that like, if you lose at the front end, even a little bit, or break even, or, you know, you give more value than like high value, low commitment for your customer or your client, or in your relationship, like, you know what I mean? Like whatever it is, like you're not expecting a big return from giving them a lot of value, then what does the long game look for you? They're going to stick with you. And what's a customer worth? What's a client worth? What's a relationship worth over 5, 10, 15 years? Like, you know what I mean? And like, it's bizarre to me. And that's like, I just see people losing all the time because they're just trying to extract everything from someone and then just move on. Whereas, I don't know, I'd rather have someone years down the track sending me a testimonial saying how I changed their life. And that was great payment. But I had been paid, that actually happened recently on the weekend, something amazing, like, talk about the words coming at the right time. That happened to me and it was just out of the blue. And I'm like, holy crap, I've made a difference. That felt really great. And yes, they'd paid me a lot of money in the time, but that was a long time ago and there's no reason for it. And you know what I mean? Like, it's just, yeah, play the long game, guys. Be a pleasing personality. Like, if you've got commission breath and you sound like you're just there to, yeah, Christine knows what I'm talking about. The person that's just following you up to see how your finances are going, just see if they can get some off you. Like, like that. I just think that's going to die. I think it's a failing. People are so awake to that crap now, so awake to the tricks, the slimy tactics. Like, and you know what? You might win and you might see someone doing that winning in the short term, the sprint, the first 10 meters of the race, but they won't be there with you at the finish line. If you just be a decent human being. And I just go back to what I was saying before, like, what if you just showed up human to human and just started there, Like, let's just bring Andy back in. Handwritten note, every customer. Hundreds of millions of dollars coming in. I don't know what else to say, Drummo. Back to you, eh?
All right. So what I was saying before was that you brought up a really good point around the pleasing personality, but not everyone is going to be your cup of tea. You are going to get the negative Nancy's. You're going to get the haters. And last week, someone was hating on me on social media. So I want to help you deal with stuff like that. And it comes down to your pleasing personality, your courage, and your self-love and your self-worth for who you are and knowing what you stand for. Now, when I get these comments through and people are challenging, one, my personality, two, my qualifications, I know when I stand in my truth that they've got it all wrong, and their interpretation of me is not even remotely close to how I show up in the world. So in that moment, rather than sinking down in the fetal position going, oh no, somebody hates me, I go and send telepathically so much love to that person. Because what I know is when people don't have kind things to say about you, it's usually because they don't have kind things to say about themselves. So I'm guessing that person probably doesn't have a lot of friends. They probably don't have a pleasing personality. They probably don't have quality of life because they've got all these barriers and all these walls up and they're living on the downward spiral of emotion. They're living in the negative rather than the positive. So for me, I just feel sorry for those people. I feel sorry that they haven't even got to know me and work out who I really am and the impact that I'm trying to make out there in the world. So you are going to come across those people. And when you are confident with the person you are, when you love yourself wholly, not just for your good traits, but come on, we can all be a little bit psycho every now and then. We can all be a little bit cranky. We can all be a little bit depressed now and then. When you love yourself wholly, the good, the bad, the ugly, the messy, the chaotic, it doesn't matter what anybody says. You know who you are. You know what you stand for. And you can go out in the world with confidence, regardless of what anyone says, and go, you know what? I am me. I'm not perfect, but I'm just me. And I'm doing the best I can with the resources I've got. And I've got my ass in the arena getting kicked every day because I want more out of life. I want to make a bigger impact. So I just wanted to share that, Joel, because hopefully I don't ever want someone to hold you back I don't want anyone to ever say anything that's going to hold you back or knock you off your course if that's what you truly want to do in life. Okay. So please don't let these negative Nancy's and the haters stop you from the path, the destination, wherever it is that you're going. Please don't let them knock you off. And most of the time, for every one hater, you will have at least 1,000 people that like or love you, that have your back. Okay, so don't let these people get under your skin. So now I want to just talk about.
Hey, Jomo, well, if they're not in the arena, disregard what they're saying. because they're just like, do you know how many people have told me what I should and shouldn't be doing with regards to business, investing, and everything like that? And they're just like Uncle Billy Bob sitting in the armchair at home. Like that's how I just picture them like that. Like I just put a mental picture in my mind. When you think of Uncle Billy Bob, doesn't it like it made Christine laugh? If you just, it doesn't matter if it's a Karen or a whatever it is that's coming at you. If they're not in the arena, just make them look like they might as well be like sitting in a rocking chair with a blanket over there, with a straw hanging out of their mouth. And they're just like I just think of them as Uncle Billy Bob. I'm like, why would I take advice from you? Like, what does your opinion actually means nothing to me, because like you're not in there. Like, and like they're never hating on you. They're hating on themselves because they don't have the guts to actually do what you're doing. And they know that if they did, they possibly would get the results. Like, because no one here is doing anything that anyone else can't do. Like, given the right amount of time and right amount of education, we can pretty much do anything. Like it's all there for us. So what's really stopping them? Like they're hating on you because you're, in their mind, they're looking at it. They look at life as hierarchical, by the way. So there's people above them and below them, and anyone that's above them that's within reach, they're trying to drag them down, which is ridiculous because we're actually living on a horizontal axis, by the way. No one's above us. They're on the same plane. So like, but that's a whole nother podcast, isn't it, Johnny? But like, all I'm just trying to say is like, you know, before we move on, is like, they're hating on themselves. The ones that and a lot of it comes guised in love. Like they're just, they share their criticisms in love. They don't want you to be hurt. But what they're really saying is they don't want you to leave. And they know that they don't have the courage to do what you're doing. So they just try to rip people apart, you know, and like, I don't care. Like I take seriously the mentors that are doing what I wished I could do. Like off air before, I was talking about, like, I've got mentors that I look up to, and they're flying planes, they're owning planes, they're doing all that kind of stuff that I want to do. Like if one of them comes and says something, well then, you know, I take it a lot more on board because they're in the game, and they're in the game a lot deeper than me. You know, and if I'm, you know, I'd listen to them, and still, even then, that doesn't mean that their opinion has to be something that derails me. So I just want to really spit that out and just like really just make it simple. If they're not in the arena, grazing their knees, getting, you know, punched in the face by the market and all that kind of stuff, you know, stuff them. Don't even.
I love that, Joel. And it's so true. And if you said nothing else this episode, you need to go back and listen to what Joel just said, because it was absolute gold. And constructive feedback, you should be inviting that all the time. Okay. We want the constructive feedback, but what you need to do is you need to cipher through the information that's being thrown at you and go, okay, is there any truth to this? And you probably will find truth in some of the things, and it will get you to go inward and go, okay, there is truth in that. Maybe that is how I'm perceived out there. Maybe I do need to pivot or shift or change something. But a lot of it you can, you know, brush it to the side because it's not you, and it's just an attack, and it's not constructive at all. So be aware of what information is coming in, but don't try and be a people pleaser all the time either. Like, don't just do things because you think people are going to love you for it or like you for it, because that's going to reach to burnout. It happened to me last year. So please learn from my mistakes. Please stand up. Like, if you don't want to do something, say, I don't want to do that. It's not serving me right now. It's actually taking me away from my goals and, you know, what I want to do. I see so many mums out there that want more balance in their life, but they say yes to every freaking thing and every single person because they want that, they want to feel loved and respected. And you can still do that. People are still going to love you if you say no. But if you want more balance in your life, if you want more stillness and peace, then you need to start saying no to things and start saying yes to yourself a lot more. So with the pleasing personality, he actually gives us 7 steps to follow. So the first one is forming the habit of interesting yourself in other people, which is what we spoke about. Getting interested, asking questions, finding out about that person. I get so sick of, asking people, oh, what do you do for work? Like, who gives a shit? I want to know what makes that person tick, what excites them, what sets their soul on fire. I don't care what they do. And what does it matter if they're a janitor or a cleaner or, a principal or a CEO? It doesn't matter. I want to get to know the person, not the position. So find out more about them. And the second thing is develop the ability to speak with force and conviction, both in ordinary conversation and in public gatherings. So you want to learn to be able to use more volume, more tone, more certainty, more conviction. And don't people get attracted to you when you talk like that? If Joel and I came on here and we were timid and, kind of spoke like this and a lot of ums in there when we weren't really sure about what we were talking about, you guys would not listen to our podcast. So we think about the tone that we're using. We're thinking about how we're showing up with our conviction, our certainty, our confidence, because that's what attracts people. That's what gets you guys fired up as well. The third thing is to clothe yourself in a style that is becoming to your physical build and the work in which you are engaged. And I'm laughing at this because there's been so many times where I'll show up to a podcast or something where I'll be like this up the top, and then down below you can't see, but today I have my slippers on. It's all business up here, and then down below it's a bit casual, but I can get away with that because it's online and you guys can't see past my shoulders pretty much. But how are you showing up every day? Like, if you're showing up as a messy mom who just looks scattered with the high bun and the trackies and everything, do people want to do business with that? I don't know. I don't think that they do. So think about what you're wearing and wearing clothes appropriate to your body shape as well. And the fourth thing is developing a positive character and, having a positive outlook on life. Like, do you have a growth mindset or do you have a fixed mindset? Are you always looking at the positives, or are you always someone that tends to focus on the negatives and what could go wrong? Like, so many people, like, if I organize something, some people will go, but what if this happens? Or what if that happens? Or you have to be careful of this. And I'm like, no, it's not about being careful. It's about being aware, but then doing it anyway, because we want to create an experience. And then the fifth thing is learn how to shake hands so you can express warmth of feeling and enthusiasm through that form of greeting. Now, since COVID, a lot of people aren't shaking hands anymore. We tend to do the old, elbow tap or something. I'm a hugger. So if I meet someone for the first time, or if they're coming into my home for an event or something, I will say to them, oh, I'm a hugger, do you mind? And if they're okay with it, I'll go in for the hug. Physical contact is so important. If you're a handshaker, make sure that you're doing it properly and you are making someone feel that warmth and that connection through the handshake, not uncomfortable and awkward because you're shaking it too hard or like a floppy fish. The sixth thing is attracting other people to you by first attracting yourself to them. So that comes back to being that pleasing personality, someone that creates energy and light that people actually want to be around. And then the seventh thing is remember that your only limitation within reason is the one which you set up in your own mind. You are the only thing that is holding you back in life. If you've always been a shy, timid, introverted person, that's okay. You can do that behind the scenes, but when you need to show up for your business, if you want that to be a success, think of it like a stage. I'm definitely not this high energy person behind the scenes. I'll come off here and I'll probably go do a meditation and calm myself back down. But it's like a performance. I have to show up. I have to get you fired up as much as myself, because that's what brings the passion, the energy, the inspiration, and will hopefully inspire you listeners to take action, to want to be successful, to want to, ask the deeper questions of yourselves. We want this information to be thought-provoking because we know that each of you, as Joel said before, there's nothing that you cannot achieve with a bit of time and education. So many people out there feel stuck in the jobs that they're doing and they feel like they're too old to get re-skilled, or they're too old to go and learn or re-educate themselves to do something that maybe will make them feel more fulfilling. Don't be that person. Okay, go out there and be you, doing things that light you up. And if you have children, that's your greatest gift that you can give them, is you living your dreams, which is going to give them permission to live theirs. So Joel, I'm going to bring you in here. How good are those tips? Like, they're easy to follow, simple. Anybody can do that. And don't worry that you got people in your life that have known you since you were a child. Let people know, hey, I'm on a journey. I'm pivoting. I'm growing. I'm doing some personal development. I'm going to start showing up differently. You may notice some changes in me. Yeah. Let them know if that's what you want to do.
Absolutely. Listen, like, you want to know how to turn your life around on a dial? Stop making statements and become a student of asking great questions, both internally, externally, in the mirror, to your kids, your potential clients, everything. Ask great questions. Like, really, you have, and it's crazy to me to think, and I'm someone who's done this. We've all done it, but you have like the most powerful known supercomputer like in your head. Make it work. Most people don't. And honestly, if you're listening to our podcast, you're not most people, but most people, probably the people you should share this podcast with, don't use their brain. They just get out of school and they think the learning's over and they think that it's time to go. And then they just think that this is the way things are. Their current situation is just the way things are. So if you want to change your life and you want to change other people's lives, and if you're a coach and you want to be even better, stop making statements. Start asking questions, and your life's just gonna blow up. And look, some people, when they start out, start having feelings like, well, who am I to ask that question? I actually was on a call with a client the other day, and I went through how to build an avatar for them so they can get more customers and find more like dream customers for themselves. He's like, wow, you are really going deep. This isn't surface level stuff. I'm like, yes, you need to know what keeps them up at night, what brings them joy, where they hang out, how they like to learn, like all those kind of things. And, like, don't be fooled by the little voice in your head saying, who am I to ask those questions? Why would I be allowed to get that personal? Like, I don't know them. Like, no one asks them those questions, and they'd love to tell you. They'd love to think for just a split second. Now, just imagine I asked you a question like, I met you and I said, oh, hi, Joe Blow. And, pleased to meet you. What's your gift? What's your gift to give the world? Like, you'd ask a crazy question like that actually makes. Now, if I asked you that, what are you going to say? What is your gift? What do you bring to the world? We all have 3 or 4. We have more, but we have 3 to 4 main gifts at least. What are they? Are you using them? How do you use it to make the world a better place? How do you make your life better using that? Like, like those kind of questions. I had someone ask me that years ago and it floored me. I was like, that's a really weird question to ask someone that I'd only just met. And I didn't know how to answer it. So I don't know. Would that not create a really great question to have a coffee over? I don't know, to find that answer. So that's what I'm thinking, Drummo. Like, the best people at making people feel great, that have got pleasing personalities, are masters of asking questions of both themselves and others, and if you find yourself making a statement like, oh, this is shit, or this is bad, or, oh, I'm so stupid, or that didn't work out, or this never happens, or all those kind of things, you're actually just flicking the switch to turn your brain off, because it just goes, okay, and shrugs its shoulders and it goes, nothing to do here. But if you say, holy moly, how can I make this better? How can I make more money? Some people say, I'm broke, or I'm poor, or I'm week to week. All my money went on bills. I've got no money for food. I can't do that. I don't have money. that's not going to make your life better. Asking, how can I earn a few more dollars? How can I sell this on eBay? How can I get a second job? How can I start a business? How can I create a side hustle that's awesome? Like, get real and start. Don't be boring like me. Start you and ask the questions like, and I don't know, Kristine, you could come up with something like, how can I create a unstoppable business empire that's like, I don't know, makes me look like Fruity Pebbles. I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say, but like, there's people that are way, way better at asking fantastic questions that can really just paint the vision full of life and colors in people's and get you excited. And that you can get someone excited, including yourself, your life's going to change. That's it. And that's in a nutshell. Ask questions.
I love that, mate. And there's a line in here that he says, you know, acquire the habit of making yourself agreeable and you profit both materially and mentally, for you will never be as happy in any other way as you will be when you know that you are making others happy. How cool is that line? Like, it all comes down to, you know, having that servant's heart, not making life about you. Like, how can we give that value that Joel spoke about? And how can we show up, you know, for other people and make them feel fulfilled? You know, one of my goals is that when people come into my presence, they go away feeling better about themselves. You know, maybe a little bit more hope, a little bit more belief, a little bit more inspiration. Like, that's one of my personal goals that I live by. You know, whenever I meet somebody for the first time, or you know, I'm catching up with a friend, I want them to go away feeling better. You know, and if we all lived like that, wouldn't the world be a brighter place? So yeah, I love this chapter, Joel. Pleasing personality. Some people you'll meet, you'll just click with, and other people you'll meet, you won't click with. And that's just life, guys. If we were all the same, it'd be bloody boring. And so go and find your people. Like, maybe you've outgrown your friends. Maybe you've outgrown your family. Maybe you don't want to be, you know, have the shackles tied to them anymore because you feel like the energy is exhausting and they're holding you back, and they don't have the pleasing personalities. That's okay. Just limit the amount of time that you spend with these people and go and find your people. And it's really easy to do. You just start being the person that you want to hang around. Start being the person that you want to attract. If you're a mum and you're down at the park, go and talk to another mum that's down at the park. See if you get along. One of my best friends, who I only met not even maybe 18 months ago, we met at a park. She just recently moved and we're in business together now as well. You know, so you just never know where these conversations are going to lead. Just stop making, you know, life about yourself. Get the chip off your shoulder, as they say. For me, studying to be a yoga instructor has definitely helped me become a better, more connected human being, getting to know people and myself on a deeper level, and knowing and trusting that there is a higher self. You know, there is something more out there. And if we can just get through the day with more compassion and kindness and forgiveness for ourselves first, and then for others, then the world, it's going to be a better place, a much nicer place to bring our children, our grandchildren up in. And it all starts with us. So that's it from me, Joel. Did you have any more mic drop comments you want to add in there?
I think that was a mic drop, Drummo. I honestly think that, yeah, like, think about, you know, how do you want the place? How do you want your kids to grow up? What sort of a world do you want to leave them? How you want to leave it better than when you found it, or worse? And that's a great mentality. I love it. So yeah, let's leave it there. That would please me. Have a most outstanding day.
Damn. Yeah.